I have got myself a new set of carbon wheels. I know what you're thinking. You've seen reviews for Elite wheels before on YouTube. But what you might not know is that Elite are very good at taking feedback and continuing to develop their product. This is the Elite D65 disc brake wheel, 65 mil rim depth. It has a 21 mil internal with a 28 mil external, and I'm not the man to caliper it. But I will say they do come set up tubeless with a tubeless valve inserted and taped. So you should be able to put a tubeless tire on and take it straight out. Also carbon spokes, but these are side pull, which in Pete Tork's books does make it a bit of an issue, but it's not something that I've ever come across, and I have ridden side pull wheels for however many years, the last few years, and never had an issue, and I don't know anyone that has had an issue. There are certain things that I do like about this particular hub, which I haven't seen on some of the other hubs that I have ridden. The first thing to point out though is that this hub itself is what's called a 4-pawl rather than like a ratchet system. If you don't know what a 4-pawl system is, say Pete Tork 3 times into a mirror, he'll probably pop up behind you and explain it. Otherwise, just go and Google it. I'm not going to take the time to explain it to you now, but it's a slightly different ratchet system. In some ways, it can be slightly less kind of efficient or slightly less snappy or slightly kind of not quite as efficient as a full-on kind of double ratchet system. But again, if you are riding your bike and you're in an event and you are blaming the 4-pawl system rather than having a ratchet system when you are racing as to the reasons why you are not performing, then you are really clutching at straws, in my humble opinion. But this is what I like about it. Firstly is the actual hub itself. Normally you can pull a hub straight off of a wheel or the wheel body, you can pull the hub body straight off. You can't do that on this. It actually gets kind of, there's a screw system that keeps the hub in place, the hub body in place, so you have to unscrew that, which means it gets held on nice and tight. And the second thing is that there is actually a rubber washer that kind of sits in there. I'm hoping you can see that also, this is a separate hub, this is a hub body for a SRAM cassette, and this is the Shimano cassette. But that basically gets put in, that little washer should, combined with the fact that it gets screwed on, really help clean or keep the ratchet system nice and clean. And that is basically the kind of nuts and bolts of what the D65 is. You know, it's radial on the front wheel, one side, obviously it's 2-crossed on the side that actually has the disc brake on it. They are 1,460 grams for the pair. And we're going to take these out for a ride, and I'm going to set them up now. The other thing to point out is that they have a slight marbling to them, which is something that I actually quite like. I've really come to kind of like I like black wheels. I like black wheels with a little bit of writing on them, but I didn't want the drive text to be in white on this particular wheel. And it's worth pointing out that this actually sits underneath a lacquer. So it's not just a sticker that's gone on top. That basically sits underneath. But I quite like the marbling and unique style of the outside of these rims. Let's suit them up, take them out for a ride. So I imagine that you are probably very similar to me when it comes to wheels. You want a set of wheels that suit your need. So how deep are they? How wide are they? You want a set of wheels that look good, and then you want a set of wheels that last. Some of you might even care about what they sound like, but I kind of highly doubt that unless you think they sound too loud and obnoxious. And we're going to cover all that now. So as I said, these are 21 mil internals, 28 externals. I think I referred to them as having a washer when I actually meant they have a seal that supports the free body hub. So
As you have watched videos of Elite drive wheels over the years, the actual drive wheel itself has evolved and they've taken on feedback. You now have to basically unscrew the hub body, and it has a seal that helps protect the bearings inside. And as mentioned, it has that 4-pawl system, which basically changes the way that the free hub actually sounds. What's the best way to describe it? It's a little bit deeper, kind of imagine a drunk bunch of crickets late on a Spanish evening making a really loud chirping sound. Probably not the best description in the world, but a little bit deeper. It's quite nice. I like mine a little bit more wispy, a little bit more high pitch. But anyway, that's another matter. So what does it feel like? Firstly, the sound that you get from a 65mm wheel, I'm not quite getting the same deep whoosh that I get with the Lun Hypers. Maybe it's a different tire setup, different pressures, but still, I do like my deep wheels to make a bit of a whoosh. Saying that though, they are absolutely lovely at high speeds, and that's something that I've really enjoyed, and you can see where I am testing them. Done a few sprints, get them up to nice high speeds, nice rolling surface, and they are just gorgeous. Definitely a big plus point. They're not the widest rims, these are 21 internals. Nowadays, you get some brands leaning towards the 23mm internals, obviously Envy and a few others still rolling on the 25 internals. So, dependent on how meticulous you are with your tires and your tire widths and pressures, that could be something for you to consider. The 4-pawl system that they use in their hub body, I can't actually talk to the durability of that. All I can tell you is what I've said, which is they seem to have tried to put systems in place to make sure that the 4-pawl system lasts as long as possible. They have the seal that sits in the hub body. You have to unscrew the hub body itself, whereas some ratchet systems you can literally just pull off the wheel, and that's a bit different on these. How do they look? Well, that's up for you to decide. But personally, on my black bike, with that kind of black reflective marbling, I think they look great. That is something that I'm gonna have to confess. The black logos on the rims with the marbled reflective with the marbled reflective wheels of the wall of the wheels looks absolutely, in my opinion, gorgeous. So that's kind of the ticks from me. Things that we can't check are the durability of the hub itself, although I did take it apart as usual. Bit of grease in there, not too much, not too little, which is pretty good. But again, is it going to be easy to fix? Hopefully you don't have to get to that stage. They have the carbon spokes, I believe, or this is off memory guys, don't quote me, 3.2mm carbon spokes, radial on the front on one side, 2x on the other side, and then on the back I think they're both 2x's, 2x. So it does make a firm wheel, which again, thinking back on it, is probably why sprinting and riding quickly feels so nice. A little bit more of a wide spoke, nice and firm because they're carbon, and again, Pete talks worst nightmare in that they are side pull, but a conversation for another time. Definitely enjoying riding them. I'm someone that would kind of base his wheel choice on what they look like, and someone that would base his wheel choice on internal rim depth. I am only kind of favoring 23mm internals because I have been told by the cycling community and Dylan Johnson that I should be riding 23 internals. That's all I've got to go off. Whether it actually makes a difference to me, especially as someone who gets dropped quite regularly, who knows? Probably not. Is it important to you? Well, maybe, and that's fair enough. So I have only ridden these a handful of times, but for whatever reason, I've jumped on my bike today, and the first instinct I had was just like, oh God, this bike feels lovely today. fresh wax chain, put a new rear cassette on, so I'm demoing a bit of a different rear cassette, but the whole setup, and I can't help but feel that the wheels play a part of that, just feels lovely. And I don't know, I guess you've kind of got to factor that in. It feels good, so therefore it kind of must be good. Does that count? So I am running 28mm Bontrager's on these, and let's just have a quick look at how a 28 tire sits on a 21mm internal. It doesn't look too bad rolling on a 28. I think if you went a bit wider with the tire, you might end up getting a bit of that balloon and then kind of that light bulbing that some people don't love in terms of aerodynamics. It's neither here nor there for me because I cannot take my bike riding to that level, but for some people that is definitely going to be a contributing factor. That's just because the 21 internals, it's 28 on the external, but this is a 28mm tire and you get a little bit of the light bulb. I'm also going to have to shoehorn this in there because I completely forgot to mention how much these bad boys cost, which is a big factor in buying wheels. $1,189. So where do they kind of fit in on the wheel market at large? Not cheap, not super expensive. So they do kind of fit into the what is probably referred to in the Western world as the kind of Asian market wheelbase, but kind of more towards the top end. So yes, $1,189. The other thing to point out is the kind of matte black styled hub bodies, which I actually think looks quite good. And the little yellow tint to it on my black bike works quite well from a styling perspective. Probably not going to work with everyone's particular bike, but an all black bike with a matte black hub body with a little bit of yellow on it is working for me, especially with that marbled look on the sidewalls of the actual wheel itself. That's about it. I've enjoyed riding these. I cannot give you a long-term review on how they hold up. I can tell you that the machining on them, because I have watched almost every video on these on YouTube, and all the little niggles that YouTubers or critics or reviewers have had in the past seem to kind of get addressed along the way. You know, Peak Talk didn't like a certain thing and they came up with the washer that comes on the screw bolt to fasten the discs to the hub body. I know that Luke also had a little bit of an issue with the axle that goes through the hub and effectively the positioning of the bearing inside the hub, and they kind of moved that out a little bit. And then the latest update seems to be that they've now put these seals into the hub body, so that when it goes on the actual hub, it kind of should, in theory, make it more sealed, stop as much grime, dirt, water from getting in there as possible, effectively making them run just nicer for longer. So there we go, guys. That's the review for the Elite Drive 65s. I like the look of them. I like the progressive nature of Elite wheels. They've obviously sponsored GCN, so they are stepping into the kind of Western market as dominantly as they can, really. So I guess they are doing what they can to make sure that they are positioned correctly and doing what they can to keep developing their product. As for how it lasts long term, that's not for me. I'm also not an engineer, guys. Please do bear that in mind when leaving comments down below. I haven't checked spoke tension, haven't managed to check kind of the radius of the wheels and how true it is. I can't, that's not me, I can't do it. I like the look of them. I do like how they sound, although I do actually prefer a ratchet system, which I believe is on some of their other models. Guys, that's it. That's my review. Hopefully see you on another one soon. Please do like, subscribe. Next time.